Good afternoon, everybody. We have yet another podcast. My name is James Netz with the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation. We have Andy Donahue from the Wisconsin Small Business Development Center at UW Superior, Center for Entrepreneurial and Economic Development. We're lucky to have Andy along with Lance, the Regional Economic Development Director from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. And we also have our very own Mike Gardner, our new Executive Director for the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation. We are very lucky to have all three of these individuals here with us this afternoon to discuss what's new on the SBA and the EDC side of things. And with that being said, I want to thank all of you for your time ahead of time, and then also we'll roll with Andy. What do you got for us this afternoon?
It feels like a little time since we chatted last, and things have kind of settled down for the time being. I say that very lighthearted, just because we know things can change on a daily or weekly basis. So I think really the big things that we're seeing right now from the SBA/SBDC side is we're used to these acronyms of EIDL and PPP and whatever else might come along, but both of those programs have really slowed down. Effective actually as of Saturday evening, the PPP, so the Paycheck Protection Program application portals are now closed for this round. So any applications that were in last week and that were approved by the SBA ahead of that August 8th deadline, those have been taken care of. And now we just kind of wait and see to see what's going to happen from Congress, if they're going to be establishing another round of PPP forgiveness or PPP funds available. We've heard rumors, but nothing has been substantiated. They are just rumors at this point. So that's probably the big thing that's changed. The other thing that has changed a little bit is the economic injury disaster loan. While the loan portion of it's still available, that applicants can certainly apply for, the advance portion, so that $1,000 per employee that you have with your organization from a forgivable grant aspect is now done. So the advance is done, but the loan application portal is still open for that. Switching gears back to the Paycheck Protection Program just briefly. A few weeks ago, we talked about the different options that are out there for forgiveness. Obviously, there are a couple of different ways where applicants can ask for forgiveness through their lenders. So they can either go through the easy forgiveness application, but then there's also the standard application. So there's a checkbox, whichever one that you can apply for. And the easy loan application, there's a few criteria that you have to meet. And if you don't meet those, then you're just really going off the standard one itself. So that's really the big things that have changed. We've been helping numerous organizations and businesses fill out these applications. We're looking at doing some different webinars that are going to help them as well to fill out these applications, both on the easy side of it and then also the standard application. I guess the big thing we advise clients is, because there's a little bit of complexity and every lender is a little bit different how they are accepting these applications, is to contact the lender that you got the PPP loan from. They will give you the best advice on how they are going to process it. Some are taking applications and are entering into the portal. Some are waiting until they get further guidance from the SBA. So talk with your lender, find out exactly how they're taking the applications, and certainly work with us if you need assistance, with any questions you have on how to fill it out. My office is certainly willing to help as much as possible.
Do you see any new programs coming down the line or filling the pipeline right now, Andy? You see anything new?
That's really hard to know. We read reports that Congress has passed a few different acts, at least one in the House. The Senate has a proposal out there. There's been no compromise yet on programs. So it's really hard to speculate. Obviously, there's rumors out there about certain aspects of the loan being completely forgiven. There's rumors about another round for companies to apply for round 2 of funding, if they meet certain thresholds for lost revenue. It's just so hard to know at this point until Congress can agree to another stimulus package or another bill that could help businesses and organizations, it's really hard to know from a federal aspect what's going to be helping. We can certainly read the reports on a daily basis, but until something is solid and it passes both wings of Congress, we can't really speculate on what might be available.
Okay. Because I know there's still some, and when I know, on the street, if you will, there's a lot of businesses that are doing better this year. And there's certainly some that are not doing well, even with, technically we're not on a lockdown, but we are, the numbers just aren't there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly. And, just bringing up what you're saying there, Jim, is businesses that were able to pivot very quickly because they had a plan in place through business planning or succession planning, whatever it might be, they were able to improvise and adjust their business very quickly and strongly based on what they had going for their business. Other businesses were able to do it as well, but they've struggled a bit just because of the different regulations and guidance that have been out there. So if businesses can take away anything from this, is to have a solid business plan, whether it's internal document that you're just sharing between the owners, whether it's a document that you share with your employees, or however it might be. It's really critical nowadays in going forward, because we never know what type of environment we're living in or what could be changing, is to have that business plan established. And I know there's a lot of business owners out there and some that kind of roll their eyes about having a business plan. But I can tell you it is a working document that you revise consistently for your business itself. And those that are able to run with that will have a greater way of being, stronger in the outcome for their business for the future.
Yeah, solid advice, without a doubt. Having a good business plan in these times is an excellent idea. However, sometimes it's a little difficult because, like you said, it changes so often, right? We don't know from week to week what's going to happen. So we definitely need to be flexible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Lance, what do you have for us?
Well, good afternoon. It's a great day to be part of Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and being part of this process to handle the pandemic that we have going on. There's no doubt that there is not a business or an individual that hasn't been touched by this over the last few months. And, at this point in time, with really no end in sight, from our perspective, from WEDC's perspective, we've done several things that obviously, folks if they haven't been notified already, they will be, about the awards for the We're All In grant initiative. And I want to talk a little bit about that with We're All In, if I can. There's some statistics that came out here today that as of Friday afternoon, we have passed and approved over $61 million in contracts or in the grants. $61 million total in grant funding to our small businesses out there, and that's phenomenal given the short length of time that has gone on. We got some rock stars in our agency that really have taken it beyond the next level in service and getting this funding out the door. And another exciting bit of news is that on last Thursday, Missy Hughes, our director, and Sam Rickers and Aaron traveled to a number of different sites around the state, down in the southern part of the region, basically did a circle, went up to Ashland and so forth to launch the We're All In campaign. And for those folks that aren't familiar with the We're All In, the associate We're All In with a grant, the We're All In campaign, basically what I would like to equate it as is an awareness campaign. The grant was just the first part. The grant was just out there to get immediate help to those small businesses that needed it, And from the feedback that we've all received, I can't tell you the stories that I have seen, that people have called, have told me what's going on, of how much that even that $2,500 that we gave them in funding has really impacted their businesses. Some were 1 week away from shutting the doors, and that $2,500 we're able to buy inventory, buy equipment, pay some salary off. So it's been a remarkably successful campaign in that, but I wanted to mention that that's just the beginning.
And Lance, I want to interject just for a second. It's, I got to tell you, I went through the program myself, and hats off to the WEDC for not only for the program, but the execution of the program was phenomenal. It was very streamlined and easy to do, and I think timing was perfect. So hats off to you and your team as well. Like you said, I think it's a godsend to a lot of businesses in Sawyer County. Yes,
thank you for that. I will tell you that it was a Herculean task when the numbers came out of how many businesses we were going to try to touch. And at this point right now, there's roughly around 92,000 small businesses that would have qualified for the We're All In grant in the state. And we were able to touch at least 30,000 of them. And, so with that in mind, now starting, I don't want to say the second phase, but a continuum, if you will, of this grant program is now awareness. We had sent out an email to most of all the businesses that received the funding so far. We have packets that are available with window clings and stickers and such. And we're actively pursuing folks to participate in this awareness campaign that, it's not just the grant funding that was there. Now it's more of a awareness campaign or lifestyle switch, if you will, with our businesses and with basically the general public and whoever visits Wisconsin. We're focusing on, encouragement that we're all in this together. We will prevail over this at some point in time in the future. But, we launched a website called we'reallinwi.com, and that focuses around 6 simple things that we can do to keep enjoying what we're doing by encouraging people to wear a mask when needed and being socially distant and keeping the gatherings small and so forth. Some public health information in there, such as, keeping your hands clean and avoid touching your face and so forth. All of this is a part of a larger scheme, our larger plan, to make people aware. For prior to this time, before COVID and everything, we've gotten the flu, people have gotten sick from other things, and we just never really thought about it. But now, where it's really hit everybody in the pocketbook and it's hit everybody health-wise, the cases are increasing every day, and what we're trying to do and promote is let's stop, let's take care of our surroundings, take care of us, put on our mask, keep socially distant, yet we can still do that and promote businesses. And I will tell you that many of the businesses that I've talked with and we're happy to visit when we were able to travel a little bit there, was that, businesses have adapted and they adapted well. And so we're excited to see that change is occurring.
Lance, you had mentioned that there's packets available. I know before the call we had talked about it a little bit, and then also you said there's like window stickers, and I would assume there's some brochures for businesses, and then also maybe their patrons. Is that correct?
Correct.
How do we get a hold of those?
All anybody needs to do is to either email on the website, the WEDC.org website, or you can talk to me certainly or email me, and I will gladly send you out a packet of information. If you're able to go to the We're All In website, you'll see that there's signs available. I have signs as well in my office, posters, customer guidelines, and so forth. So if anybody needs anything like that, they are certainly welcome to give me a call.
Great.
And we'll get it out straight away.
And these are free of charge?
Free of charge.
Awesome. Well, again, we thank you, Lance, for you and your team and what you're doing. Anything else that you see in the near future?
Well, I do, and the good news is with WEDC, it's we are. I don't want to say winding down on this on the grants, but we're well over the hump of addressing phone calls and emails and helping people with their grant applications. But it's business as usual with us. We have, I will tell you that my business up here in northern Wisconsin has picked up tremendously since we've been back to work. We're now into the new fiscal year. And so I've been focusing my efforts on, the businesses that are looking to expand. I've been in communications with a number of businesses, and the good news is almost all of these businesses have been out of state and talking to me and talking to our leadership about moving to Wisconsin. There are a number of businesses that are seeking empty spaces or multi-purpose spaces, manufacturing, commercial space to move their operations here. And they sense that, our workforce up here is a talented workforce. We're fortunate especially in this northern part of the state that we have not had the incidences or the high numbers that other areas of the country have, especially in the more populated areas. And, we have a good standard of living, and it's fairly reasonable. And quite honestly, Jim, I'll tell you that the word's out. And so, just last week alone, I talked to 6 separate businesses that are looking to relocate here in the northern part of Wisconsin.
Oh, that's great news.
We're literally talking, out of the 6 businesses, almost 400 jobs that are coming that they want to shift from their current facility to a facility here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's great news to hear.
We are seeing a positive. I'm seeing a positive trend, and other remote areas. I know Stacy Johnson over in the northeastern region. She's seeing an influx down south here, south of me. I know Claire Heather has been very, very busy with applications for business tax credits, for community development initiative funds. I always know that's a good sign that when somebody calls me for an idle sites grant, or they call me for site assessment grant and a brownfields grant, progress is happening. Because usually what follows either one of those 3 programs is progress, where they're changing the space into a usable space for manufacturing or industry. And whenever I hear that, I'm very glad to do those grants, typically because I know that there's going to be employment down the road.
Great news. Lance, one question I have is, for the, how would I say, businesses in Sawyer County, any advice right now on what, from your perspective, what they should be doing or what the WEDC can be doing for them? Sure.
Well, from our perspective, we want everybody safe and we want everybody healthy. And so with this initiative, we're asking folks to encourage people to, socially distance when they get into an area, if they have to go to a store or they're out and about in a closed area, to wear a mask. And, people are accepting it to wear the mask more and more. I know they can be kind of cumbersome and so forth. However, it will just help stop or at least reduce the spread of this terrible disease. Secondly, knowing, I've been encouraging all businesses, with some hope that we will get over this. This is not going to be a new normal way of life, and over time, we will see this less and less. It's just, by virtue of what we got going on here. And then the final thing is that this has been a good test for all of us. Test, or if you will, wake up call. And that, now we are getting ourselves prepared, even through the, a gentle prod and poke of, hey, keep your distance, please, a little bit. Same thing with wearing a mask and interaction with businesses and such. We're starting to see that, and which is good. So we can be prepared if this ever happens again. And it may. I hope it never happens again. But if it does, I think we'll be better prepared this time.
Yeah, we'll get it right by the time it's all over, right? That's how I always look at it, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
But we will definitely be better prepared, and God forbid that we do go through another pandemic.
And from a WEDC point of view, I always look for opportunity, and for those folks that know me, I try to get the yes whenever I can. I don't like to say no, because I do the best I can to get the yes. And one of the opportunities that we're starting to see with, and Andy can attest to this, because we were in part of a contest, a business contest recently as judges. The advent of mail order, and to get your product, be able to get your products out. When somebody even online orders, they want, whatever widget anybody's making, or even foodstuffs, that can be mailed. That can be, sent out via UPS as well. We're starting to see some grassroots of businesses that are calling up and saying, hey, I want to start this business where I can just basically have either 25% or 30% of my business online, or 50%. I know it's a little bit behind the eight ball, but we're here in northern Wisconsin, and we love to talk with people. We love to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and have dinner or have lunch with somebody. And but we also, now with the change, now we're looking for different ways of doing business. And I encourage anybody that is doing any type of manufacturing or any type of business where they have the ability to sell their products online, encourage them absolutely to do this.
Yeah, I think a great example, and I don't want to use some of the names of businesses and locations, but I saw on the news this morning where Amazon is actually trying to acquire some empty buildings or locations in malls to be able to put some of their product in that's more, how would I say, regionally or geographically closer to some of their customers for faster delivery. That's something that we would have never heard of, I think, a year ago, but now with some of the big retail chains and so forth shutting down their locations, their brick and mortars, if you will, it's giving the online businesses that much more opportunity to, get their product to their customers that much faster. And it just, I even shook my head a couple times. I'm like, wow, we would have never heard that a year ago. So interesting how the landscape is changing.
Jim, if I can just add real quick to, what Lance was saying about, good things for Sawyer County in the planning process is, we're getting into August now. The hospitality tourism season is still, full force as it extends into the fall. But winter and holiday shopping are, right around the corner, believe it or not. It feels like it was just yesterday that we were just talking about this. But now's the time to start planning for, the next season. We might be, sitting in the same thing here, but it doesn't hurt to start thinking about what's your marketing strategy going to be like in the next couple months. And as you get into the holiday season, how are you going to be reaching your customers? Do you have that e-commerce or digital way in how you can market your product if, we still have to maintain that social distance environment without people in the stores as much? So just little things to think about as a brick and mortar, a food and beverage, a manufacturer, any of those industries that have a product that goes to the consumer. How do you find that market and how do you reach them in this environment that we're in?
Yeah, great advice, because we all know once the snow kind of hits here in the Northwoods, Sawyer County, the retail foot traffic really definitely goes down this time in that time of year. And then with the COVID on top of it, that's great advice. Mike, are you still awake?
I'm here. Well, I couldn't sleep through this.
Mike, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? I'll ask you a few questions here as well, and we'll go from there.
Well, thanks, Jim. And I was my name is Mike Gardner. I'm the newly appointed executive director of the Economic Development Corporation, and been pleased. I've been working since mid-March with Jim and a team of people to work with Andy and Lance to get information out during this particular time of need. And I was glad to see, Lance's emphasis on the awareness factor that the We're All In program has brought to it. Not only has created awareness for the capacities that WEDC has, but the webinars we've been doing, has certainly brought the focus to the resources available through the Small Business Development Center. We, in that process, have communicated with a lot of Sawyer County businesses, and I think the fact that they are aware of what's going on, that they can call Andy or Lance and get information, get resources that they might not have otherwise been available, has been really valuable. And as has been stated by both, our local economy is susceptible to a lot of things. Most recently, the COVID-19, but we deal with unemployment, weather, mill closures, the whole gamut. And to increase any business's resiliency to change and their responsive capacity to those changes, I think is a residual to these processes. And there's been a lot of lessons learned to date, and the Economic Development Corporation hopes to build upon those so that so there can be more business, and the ones that we have are thriving. It's a diverse economy in many ways. I wanted to mention a new program, not a new program, but a program that we probably have underserved a little bit, and that's the agriculture producers. Today, the Wisconsin Farm Support Program reopened for applications. Then that's handled through the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection and the State Department of Revenue. But this is a second sign-up period, and Sawyer County was possibly a little underserved in the first round. There was 13 applicants that got a total of like $45,500 worth of support. It appears, looking at the northern Wisconsin map, that other counties possibly responded a little well and took advantage of it. But that sign-up is open till August 24th, and people go to the DADCAP site online or the Department of Revenue. They can get additional information, or certainly contact me. I can get them the resources. But as we know, in the local food movements, the farmers markets, agriculture endeavors are diversifying and providing a big attraction to the quality of life that that we offer here in Sawyer County and across northern Wisconsin. So I think that we need to be attentive to that as well.
Mike, to your point, you came on board to the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation at a very tumultuous time, and I think that you're going to be bringing on some real new, energy to the EDC, the Sawyer County EDC, and we really look forward to working with you. And with that being said, how do folks get a hold of you now?
Well, certainly, I would encourage anybody to go to the organization's website. There's a lot of good information. The recordings of these podcasts are on there. A lot of the resources that both Andy and Lance have provided over the last number of months are on there as well. But my email is just mgardner@northflow.net. I have a direct line at 715-462-4775. Well, I'm available to assist any business to direct them towards, the type of resources they need to help them. I don't, this is really a network, in working with both the state and federal agencies and getting people to the individual or organization that can answer their questions. It's kind of a clearinghouse.
You guys are a great team, Lance and Andy and Mike. Over the last several months, you guys are truly rock stars and have helped out a ton of businesses here in Sawyer County. So hats off to all three of you.
Well, a point that Lance made about new businesses and the prospects for the immediate future for the region, and in specific in this instance, Sawyer County, is many of the programs. I mean, we talk about the relief things, but there are embedded in, and being discussed in the next iterations, investment opportunities. And, you hear the terminology opportunity zones, where there's, real incentives for investments in these northern counties that have census tracts that are considered opportunity zones. So the more that we can promote the type of things that Lance mentioned about our quality of life, but also some of the financial incentives to invest in our northern communities, just having good information to people so they understand that is a real asset.
Totally agree. So, Mike, we may actually have you as a podcast later in the week, if we get the opportunity here and you have some time. I guess a couple of questions that I have after listening to Lance and Andy and Mike discuss the different various things. One, I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was a program either that's being planned or that's out there right now for a business that can justify or can, prove that they've lost more than 50% of business this year based on the COVID. Is there such a program out there for folks like that?
Right now, I know there is talk about a federal program, and that's what I was referring to for the next round of PPP. That was part of what was going to be proposed in one of the new, we'll just call it the quote-unquote CARES Act Part 3 or whatever it's going to be called, HEROES Act or HEALS Act. That part of that program was going to be if a business can prove that they lost 50% of their revenue due to COVID, they would be eligible to apply. Now, I take that, there's nothing that's passed yet. There's nothing that is really in the pipeline right now, but we don't know what's going to be happening in the next weeks or months ahead. So that is something that has been talked about, though.
Okay, so I didn't just dream it. I actually did hear it.
You did, yes.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Well, that really underscores the point that Andy made earlier about people not only understanding their desired future for their business, but understanding the recent past. So being able to have good documentation, should programs like that require it, that you can, it was kind of a scramble for a lot of businesses to take advantage of some of those programs. And I think that's in the lessons learned, is to to be prepared with good records and not not only what you've had and where you're at and where you want to be.
Well, there's location, but now this year especially, it's documentation, and documentation, right? I mean, it's even with the PPP forgiveness side of things, you've got to be able to document everything, and then, with the potential of more programs coming down the line, you better know, what your books look like, and on a very short notice, correct?
Yeah, and that actually goes into also making sure that you're maintaining, your record keeping from a cash flow perspective, an income statement, knowing what's happening with your business. And if you don't know exactly what's happening, on a consistent basis, it doesn't help you, with your planning for the future if there is another downturn or if there's different things that happen. So if anybody needs help with just analyzing anything that they have going on with their business, my staff is very trained, willing to help, set that next 6 to 12 to 18 months up, just so you have an idea of where things are at from a cash flow perspective or what planning that you need to have to take place.
The sooner the better, correct, Andy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't even I can't emphasize enough myself is to have folks get a hold of you and your team now sooner than later. Andy, quick question for you. What about any training that you see, either in the future coming down the line, or anything that you currently have that you could recommend to folks in Sawyer County?
Yeah, we actually have 3 different things that are coming up. So this is going to be a little bit long-winded. I'll try to get through this kind of quickly here. Is twice per year we do our entrepreneur training program. Normally we do this in person, but obviously due to COVID and everything else that's going on, we are doing it virtual. That starts on Wednesday, September 9th. Originally the plan was to hold a live session in Hayward for all Sawyer County residents. We are moving that obviously now to a virtual environment. So starting on September 9th from 6 to 8:30 every Wednesday for 8 weeks, we are going to be doing our ETP, as it's called, online. So this really talks about business planning, what's called the business model canvas, so you can understand your business a little bit deeper. We talk about marketing, finance, insurance, HR, legal, that whole gamut of entrepreneurship. So business owners have the idea of what's expected when they have to run their business on a day-to-day basis, but it gives them the opportunity to really go back, like I said before, into that business plan and really deep dive into that for that planning process, so they can fully understand what's happening with their business, what they need to do to set up their business for success, but also for their planning on, on any given situation that could be happening. So we work with them through that and help them get launched. So we usually every year we have between 10 to 20 people that take part in these classes. And, we have a lot of businesses between our counties that we serve in Northwest Wisconsin that have launched because of the solid foundation that they do get. So that will be starting on Wednesday, September 9th. If you are looking for more information with that, you can just go to our wisconsinsbdc.org/centers website. You can just find the Superior page, and it'll have all the information to register for that.
Andy, is that also free of charge?
That is not free of charge.
Okay.
There is a grant involved with that as well. So if anybody has any questions on how that cost would be, just contact me directly, Donahue@uwsuper.edu, and I can give you more information in regards to that.
Great.
2 other things that we have going on coming up here in the next 2 months. On October 27th, so that's going to be a Tuesday, we are doing a QuickBooks class. About twice a year as well, we do just a day-long QuickBooks class about QuickBooks Online. We just talked a little bit about, how you market your business, what you need to do for that planning process. But a key component of that is the financial piece of it, and how you do it for record keeping. So we do offer this through a certified QuickBooks advisor. They're able to give more information on, how to process payroll, how to keep your records, what you need to do from an audit standpoint, anything that has to do with the financial piece of your business from that audit standpoint of record keeping, we'll talk about in this QuickBooks class. So that costs at $99 for the day-long session. We are running that, again, virtual as well, just because of everything that's happening. We might split this into 2 different days, and we're actually in that planning process right now, so more information to come on that. The last thing I want to mention real quick, on Thursday, September 17th, from 1 to 2 p.m., we're doing a live webinar with Stacy Johnston from, she's one of our presenters that actually works with our ETP class as well, from Odyssey HR. What we're going to be talking about is resiliency in the workplace and how to deal with it right now in this stressful environment. Might be an interesting time with businesses going through some different change in how they deal with resiliency and maintaining the calm in that ever-changing environment, but also for those parents or business owners that are going to have to deal with distance learning or hybrid model or whatever your local school district is going to choose for not only elementary to high school to college. Dealing with some of that change process and how you are resilient during that stressful situation. So that will be on September 17th. We have a good number of people registered. It is free of charge, but we certainly would like you to register ahead of time because we'll send you the link for the Zoom platform itself. So again, September 17th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
Wow, that's great. Well, thank you for doing those. Lance, anything else from you?
Well, looking at this, we want to back up just a bit here about the record keeping and so forth. And that was one of our biggest challenges as we walked through these grants with folks is some of the records that they have. It was surprising to me to see the lack of records that some businesses had. And I would say that all of the grants that I worked with and so forth, I would clearly say 25% at a minimum had low to very almost non-existent business records. And I know it's hard to comprehend that, but then one of the lessons that we learned was, we assumed that every business had an accountant and that the accountant was doing your taxes. And that may be the case down, in the southern part of the state. But up here and, in other parts of the state, a lot of small businesses do their own, and so one of the lessons that I've learned and what we've learned is that, record keeping is essential. So it's fantastic to hear that Andy's group is going to be having some training on that, QuickBooks and business records and marketing and so forth. And we're exploring some of that information right now as well to see what we can do to help out, even as local regional directors around the state. When we go out to value add to our services is to help businesses that are struggling or whatever, direct them to Andy's group, or some of us have had businesses before and have worked in the industry, financial industry and so forth, can provide some feedback to businesses as we go forward. And the second thing I'd like to tell everybody too, as we go forward into the fall, as Andy was mentioning, with we're going to see foot traffic reduce. We're going to see our vacationers head back, and so forth. And I've talked to a number of businesses and I've said to them, you need to figure out what you need to survive. And I know it's an unfortunate thing because I want every business to thrive instead of strive. And but I've been telling some businesses and coaching businesses to say you need to really take a look at what you have right now, what you're operating here during the summertime, and at what point in time can you start folding things back in again, and prepare yourself for that eventuality where you may not have the foot traffic, you may not have the customers. Can you fold yourself back in again reevaluate what you're doing, and then when the summer hits, unfold it again. Secretary Meady from tourism, had indicated here last week that the recovery of this is going to extend well into 2024, and we're in 2020. And every day there was a study done I can't remember who did the study now, but a study done about every day that a business is closed, it takes 21 days for them to recover. And so when you look at, we're in the middle of August right now in 2020, and we're projecting and we're considering 2024 is when, if things were changing and if we get back on our feet again completely, that we will see a recovery, but it's going to take that long. We can weather it, we can thrive through it, but my advice to businesses would be, seriously take a look at your bottom line, look at what you have. Is there efficiencies that you can see within your business? Are there things that you can live without or plan or budget ahead? During the winter time, or things you can do by yourself that can help you weather this storm.
Yeah, this brings up a term that I heard years ago, Lance, and this year I think it's probably more applicable than ever, but I heard a term that it's, especially here in Sawyer County with kind of the short season, is we eat steak in the summer and make soup with the bones in the winter. So, and I think that really says a lot for our economy here. Our window was so short, and this year we definitely were, it was cut even shorter with the COVID situation that we're in. So, great advice to, make sure that what your bottom line is and what it's going to take to survive, when the foot traffic really goes down, which inevitably it will, not only because of the weather, but, God forbid that and I won't even use the lockdown term, but you know what I mean, right?
Understood. Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing, a sector that certainly seems to could benefit from some of those lessons learned, as Lance pointed out, is certainly the self-employed and sole proprietor sector. You see a big range in there on how they handle record keeping and just having an understanding of what their break-even point is. It's really time to encourage businesses that maybe are a little more established to be, encouraging their subcontractors and stuff so they can be resilient to get in a better place and take advantage of some of these trainings over time. I mean, people used to just respond to their IRS needs or not respond, and it's a little different game in that sector. And I talked to a lot of people who were challenged in responding to relief opportunities because of some of the things Lance pointed out.
Well, I think, Lance, you used a term early on in the All-In grant program when we had a talk. And that was, you said that, there's big business, small business, and then there's micro businesses. And I think that there, in some of these cases where these micro businesses in Sawyer County don't really have their books up to date because they were sole proprietor and a lot of their business just runs through their personal taxes. So, and like Mike, you had noted that the training that Andy has got going on or coming up with, QuickBooks, QuickBooks is definitely an easy answer to a bigger problem. And I know I personally use QuickBooks, and sometimes it can be a little frustrating not only knowing how to use it, but it's not a huge program, but after time you really definitely are able to keep track of your records and keep things in order.
Jim, if there's one other thing that I could ever, if I was king for a day, and if I looked across the valley of all the small and micro businesses that are out there, I literally would say one piece of advice to them is accountants, I mean, we need them. They work on the returns, and I'm not disparaging accountants by any means. But what another lesson learned is that people don't get good, sound, square financial or business advice. And if there's anything I could ever say to this valley of folks, would be talk to the Small Business Development Center, talk to Andy. His services are there, and he wants everybody to succeed, and I want everybody to succeed. And just getting somebody business advice, no judgments, just business advice. What should I do here? How should I prepare there? Nobody has that, and I've really noticed that within, as I did these grants and underwrote a lot of these grants, is that there's not one entity out there besides small business development. I'm sure there's others, but what I've seen that's going out to businesses and reaching out and saying, maybe you should talk to these folks up here at Small Business Development Center because they got some really good ideas. They've got experts on staff that can help you make your business thrive. And I've encouraged every single business that I've talked to, it doesn't matter if they're from here or wherever I underwrote for in the state, I've been encouraging them to talk to the SBDCs to get good business advice because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't know. Nobody would have, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said, just imagine 365 days ago, we'd never heard of COVID and what life was like a year ago. And now when I say that, it's like we all look at each other like, oh, that was such a long time ago. It's only a year. And so all the problems that we have right now today, we didn't even think about a year ago. And just imagine having a year's worth of Andy's advice underneath your belt, what life would be like a year from now. So if I can ever get a word out is get some business advice, get somebody in there that'll help you make your business thrive.
Well, and to add to that, Lance, all three of you are very approachable. I know that I've gotten feedback on both, Andy and yourself and Mike, and even from the recovery team that the Sawyer County EDC put together. We were all four of the entities, if you will, were very approachable. That's one thing that we scored very, very high on is that, you guys were, even through all this crisis that you were, people could get a hold of you and you returned emails and or phone calls and you made yourselves available for, not only this podcast, but for the webinars that we were doing as well. So, it's just, it takes either getting online, picking up a phone, sending an email and asking for that help. And I know, Andy, Lance, and Mike, you're there for everybody. So great advice. Reach out to these folks when you need them or if you've got any questions. And, the sooner the better because we don't know what the next 30, 60, 90 days are going to do. I want to thank you, all three of you, for your time this afternoon on behalf of the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation. We appreciate everything that you've done and for your time today. Again, we had Andy Donahue, the director of the Wisconsin Small Business Development Center at the UW Superior Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. And then Lance Ausing from the Regional Economic Development. He's the director there with the Wisconsin EDC. Appreciate your time. Mike Gardner, our new executive director for the Sawyer County LCO Economic Development Corporation. I appreciate all three of your time today, and we will definitely be listening to all the chatter out there and seeing what kind of happens in the next week or two or 30 days from now, and we will definitely be knocking on your door once again for your time if things start to develop here for any benefit for the businesses here in Sawyer County. So I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Have a great rest of your day.